all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bakakadash, Double honor to the elder and apostle of the mystery who do well. A peace, blessing, and salutation to the Akim who are pushing these truths to the four winds of the heaven. It's your brother Yashaya Bani Yasharala coming to you again with this prophecy and news, or news and prophecy, if you will. And here we have this Peter Schiff. He is an expert when it comes to this economic things, man. This Peter Schiff, he is a head of what we call the Indo-Pacific, man. We call it the Indo-Pacific Rim. So I used to listen to this dude, man, even before coming to this truth, man. He bring a good point, man, and he tell you for what is coming in, man, without sugarcoating or doing anything like this other Edomite, Esau like to talk in cycle, man. But this Peter Schiff, man, he give you the nitty-gritty, man, of what is coming, man. So the economic collapse, it have been a news which have been brought for a decade now, to the extent that people have become desensitized, man, to this kind of news. When they see economic collapse is coming, you see they shun it away, man, because it is day-to-day news. Every day, the economic faculty, they come out and tell you the Dow Jones has hit this, the Dow Jones has did this, Deutsche Bank have went bankrupt, they are laying off workers, more retail shops are closing, to the extent that we call it a retail apocalypse. Thousands of stores are closing in America, thousands of people are losing jobs, man. Thousands of companies are laying off workers, man. If it hasn't hit you on the face, you won't understand really what we are talking about, man. But this is an imminent news, man, which is on the horizon. The economic collapse is on the horizon, whether you like to listen it or not, man. Let's go into this news. You brothers, you need to be patient, because this economic collapse, this economic news are very deep, man. There are certain terminology which are hard to understand, but if you concentrate, you can get something out of it, and it is very exciting, man, because of how Esau set this economy, and he put these different terms, man. But nevertheless, the economy is coming down, man, crumbling down. So let's go and listen to this expert, and then we'll come and bring a few scriptures, man, and then we'll close this out.
The economy full of monetary heroin, and as a result of that, we took on more debt, we spent more money, we dug ourselves into a deeper hole. Instead of solving the problems that caused the 2008 financial crisis, we just found a way to paper over the problems and actually make them worse. And now I think we're headed for an even bigger economic calamity than the one we had in 2008.
Now, many people are looking at the stock market, and, there are some people saying that the stock market's going to continually move up and up and up, and people are looking at this as a gauge of how the economy is doing. When you look at the market, what do you see happening? Is this an actual gauge of how the economy is doing?
No, not at all. There is a complete disconnect between the economy and the stock market. I mean, if the economy were the stock market, Hillary Clinton would be the president, because the stock market did very, very well under Brock.
这2个星期我在 Facebook 上面的花销是4292美金，我得到的回报是20937块美金，整个投资回报比的话。
There was a commercial right there, man. The devil like to interrupt saying.
Did not vote, for Hillary because of the fact that the economy was bad and people wanted change. I think that the strength of the stock market is actually a byproduct of the very policy that is helping to undermine the real economy. One of the reasons the economy is so weak is because the stock market is strong, because what's causing the market to be strong is the cheap money policies from the Fed. So it's artificially low interest rates and quantitative easing that fueled the stock market bubble, but those are the same policies rather, that undermined real economic growth. It really was a transfer of wealth from Main Street to Wall Street. Instead of having savings and productive capital investment, we had debt and rampant speculation. So none of this is good for the economy, but it can make some people wealthier on paper if you happen to own the financial assets. And I think it's a mistake for Donald Trump to constantly tout the record highs in the stock market as some kind of validation of his policies and to claim credit for the stock market going up, because we know the stock market at some point is going to come down, and you live by the market.
So what is happening right now is the Federal Reserve is pumping more money, man, into the system. And as this guy Trump, he's coming every single day and doing an update on the economy, like if he's an executive officer of the Federal Reserve, man. Why? Because he knows something is up, man. The economy is all a time high, man. You see. So the house of cards is about to crash, man. Everybody know about that, man. Even a kid know about that, because the price of everything have skyrocketed. How then you are telling us the economy is doing good? Every single day, things are getting harder, man, harder and harder. You see, the price of these things haven't come down. So in real life, the economy is in bad shape, but when you go into numbers, the economy is doing very well, man. You see? So you see the hypocrisy of Esau, man.
Die by the market, and I think Trump should be distancing himself from this market. I liked him better as a candidate. He said it was a bubble. He was right then. It was a bubble, and it will pop.
Why do you think he's out there saying, hey, look at the stock market, look how great it's doing? Why do you think he changed?
Well, because he can't resist. I think he's getting some very bad advice, but he wants to claim credit for it. He's a marketer. He's a salesman, and so he's working with what he's got. So when he was a candidate, he was talking about the bubble, but now that it's his bubble, he wants to redefine it as a bull market, and he wants to claim credit for it. Just like he is bragging about the low unemployment. The low unemployment rate was that it was phony statistics. He talked about how high the real unemployment rate is. Well, none of that has changed. It's all exactly the same, but now he's spinning it in a different way. Now he's like, well, it's my economy, so now I want to talk about how great it is. But I think that's wrong. I think he should stick with the idea that the economy is not great, and it's not his fault that it's not great. He wants to try to fix it, but he's claiming that it's already fixed, so it's now going to look like he broke it.
There's a lot of talk about Obamacare, repealing it. Why is it so important for him to repeal Obamacare? I know he made these promises during the campaign, but what is his end goal here? Why does he want to repeal it so badly?
Well, it was very bad legislation. It's very harmful to the economy. It is going to be responsible for driving up healthcare and insurance costs, so it's going to basically achieve the opposite of its stated objective. But the problem is, most of the repeal and replacement bills that the Republicans brought forward were almost as bad, and in some cases worse. They wanted to talk about repealing Obamacare, but they actually didn't want to repeal it. They wanted to repeal it and preserve it at the same time, because they don't have the political guts to tell the voters the truth about what health insurance is and that there's no free lunch. So, basically Trump wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted to repeal Obamacare but preserve it at the same time. He wanted to tell people that they didn't have to buy expensive insurance if they didn't want to, but that if they were sick, they can buy insurance for the same price as they could buy it when they were healthy, which of course is great for the consumer because it means that there's no reason to buy insurance. Why would any healthy person buy health insurance if they could just wait until they get sick, and then if they need it, buy it for the same price as if they had bought it when they were healthy? That's, that basically destroys the reason to buy insurance in the first place. So it's great for the consumer, but ultimately it's lousy for the consumer because it destroys the insurance industry. And if the insurance industry can't make a profit, then there's no insurance. But what the Republicans wanted to do was substitute premiums paid by healthy people for subsidies paid by taxpayers. They wanted the taxpayers to provide the money to pay out the claims to the sick people because the healthy people weren't going to buy any policies thanks to the ban against pre-existing conditions. So the whole thing was a farce. And in fact, if you go back to the end of last year, early this year, I was one of the only people out there saying that they were not going to repeal Obamacare. I said, I think it's going to stay. I don't think they're going to be able to repeal it. And I was right because they understood what Obamacare was. And I saw the inconsistency in what the Republicans were claiming because they wanted to.
Amen.
Hello， 我们又见面了。如果你看到这个视频呢，就说明你已经看过我的免费教学视频了，但是呢，你还没有决定要行动。
Satan is your teeth, man.
Preserve the ban against discriminating based on pre-existing conditions. Well, the minute they staked out that position, they were doomed. You can't repeal Obamacare without repealing that.
But as we can see, Obamacare, and this has been happening a long time, way before Trump, where a lot of the exchanges, they're going completely bankrupt, losing billions of dollars. And we see that people, because the premiums are going up so much that they're just not taking it. They'd rather take the penalty. So don't you think Obamacare is going to eventually implode on itself?
Well, of course, it's going to collapse. I mean, that's the other reason that I think it was foolish for the Republicans to try to repeal it in the half-assed way that they were, because what they were really doing was just rebranding Obamacare as Trump Care or with a Republican label on it. And so when it collapsed, it would have been their fault. So I do think that John McCain actually, did them a favor, because I think that leaving Obamacare as is and then letting it collapse is better than replacing it with something that also collapses. Because then the Democrats would be able to say, well, everything was fine until the Republicans came and screwed it up. So I think we gotta go down with this ship if we have any hope of making some real reform.
I wanted to move on to the Fed and them raising rates right now and unwinding their balance sheet. And like you said before, previously, the economy is not doing that well. Nothing's really changed. Why has the Fed at this point decided, let's raise rates, let's unwind our balance sheet if they actually ever do it? Why did they decide to do this in an economy that's so weak?
Yeah, and of course, you're right. They haven't actually done anything about shrinking their balance sheet. In fact, the balance sheet is still expanding. They're still reinvesting the interest in principal. So they haven't even, stopped growing the balance sheet. But they're still talking about shrinking. But I think, one of the reasons that they stepped up the pace, or maybe the only reason that they've stepped up the pace of rate hikes, because remember, before the election, before Trump was elected, the Fed raised rates one time while Obama was president, prior to the election. Since the election, the Fed has raised rates 3 times. And so the question is, why are they raising rates so much faster now under Trump than they were under Obama, when the economy is certainly no stronger today than it was then? And in fact, by most objective measures, the economy is weaker now. Not because of anything Trump has done, but that was just a trajectory that we were on before Trump took office. The economy was weakening, the stimulus high was wearing off, and the hangover was going to set in. So the question is, why was the Fed so timid and so data dependent? And
you see, the devil is doing something again. So I hope, brother, you get what is going on, you see, as far as the economic collapse is concerned. So let's go and get some scriptures, man, because the internet is doing something here, man. The prince of the air is Satan. This is a book of Leviticus 19 and verse 36. It is saying a just balance, a just weight, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. So all of these things, just weight, just ephah, and a just hin, Esau didn't have this, man. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. So the economy of Esau was established based on lies, forgery, man, and this backward ways, man, to live of people, to profit over people, and usually something known as usually in the scripture. So Esau didn't observe all of that, man. So, and as you know, the scripture say, an just balance is an abomination. And when you go to that balance, it simply means weight. And what is weight, man? The standard of exchange, going back to trading. If you exchange, you trade, and you expect to get a profit over that. So that profit must be a just profit. If it isn't a just profit, that is an abomination to our Lord, man. And that's why the Lord is about to put to an end to this unjust system. You see? So to prove that an unjust exchange or a false exchange is an abomination. See, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is right. So balance and the weight, they stand interchangeably, and that weight is a standard unit for exchange. And what is exchange? Exchange is trade. And when you trade, what do you expect? You expect to have a profit, and that profit must be based on justice. The Lord is very angry to people who profit off other people, man. And who is that, man? That is Esau, man. That's Esau for you. Let's prove that. See, so this is the book of Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity, and they walk evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it. And going back into how the economy was set up, how Esau got his wealth, man, through an unjust exchange, an unjust weight and balance, because it is in their power of the hand, and they convert field. And what is field, man? Field go back to goods, fixed goods. If you have a field that is a fixed asset, you can trade the field, and if you trade the field, you get a balance, a weight, a means of measurement, so that you can be able to trade the field. It should be just, and take them by violence. If you take something by violence, that is an abomination. That is not a just balance. And the house, and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. You see, therefore thus says the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil from which ye shall not remove your neck, neither ye go out, for thy time is evil. So you see, that is Esau for you, man. Esau for you. And from that, let's get another scripture. So this is Deuteronomy 23:19. It says, thou shalt not lend upon usually to thy brother. So what Esau have been doing, he lent this third world country upon usually, and he demands a high return, to the extent that this third world country, they can't pay that debit off, man, and they remain on debit forever. So that Esau, he lay a bargaining chip. If you are in debt with somebody, he can demand anything from you. And that's why Obama, he went on this third world country, forcing them to be homosexuals, man, because America have a bargaining chip. And what is that bargaining chip? He put this country into debit, usually usually a victual, usually of anything that is lent upon usually. So that is the abomination. Unto a stranger thou may lend upon usually, but unto thy blood thou shalt not lend upon usually, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou sittest thy hand in the land which thou goest and possess it. So Esau is not a stranger to us. When we go to the book of Psalm, they refer Esau as our mother's, you see, our mother's, what you call our mother's brother. He is our brother, because Jacob and Esau were born in the same womb, man. So we are not stranger to Esau. But Esau, what he do, he's lending on Jacob upon usually a breach, usually which people are unable to pay them. And from there, let's go to another scripture. These scriptures I will hit to the point. This is Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keep of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, as a grinder sees because they are few, and those that look upon the window and be darkened, and the door shall be shut in the street, and when the sound of the grinding is over. This is going to the great economic which is coming, which will be heard far and wide, man. The strong man shall be darkened, man. Shall bow themselves down, man. You see, this is not talking about even weak men, man. You people who have who don't have anything, man. This is talking about the wicked elite of Israel. They shall bow themselves down because the Lord is about to take everything they have, man. Or the coming on collapse. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bed, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. What is this talking? This is talking about mainly in America, man, because back in the day, all the flavor of music used to come from America, but now they are starting to regress on a slow pace, man. But this will intensify when all hell break loose, man. You won't hear any music, man. You see, so your idol, the idol you love, be it Drake, be it Wine, you won't hear them anymore, man. You see, because they will be struggling on how figuring out on how to live the next day. And when they shall be afraid of that which is in high, we get scripture on that. And the fear shall be in a way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be burdened, and the desire shall fail, because man goes to his long home, and the mourner go about the city. So it will be morning, man. And ever the silver cord be loosened, and the golden bowl be broken, and the golden bowl, man. You see, that's talking about America. The pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. And what is the cistern? A place when you get water, you get food, man. Then shall the dust return to the earth that is yours, and the spirit shall return unto the God. So that was not what I wanted. So let's go and prove that verse 5, when they shall be afraid of that which is high. Let's prove that with Isaiah 2. That's Isaiah 2:11. See, this will come to pass, man. In that day, I will read from Isaiah 2:11. The lofty look of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down. And the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. Which day, man? The day when shit hit the fan. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty. And who is proud, man? You Edomite, man. You are the elite, man. The Lord is about to plow the ground alone, and they will bow down to them yourself in front of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, man. And upon everyone that is lifted up, he shall be brought low. And upon all the shade of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, and upon all the oaks of Bashan. So this is going to the wicked elite of this society, man. They are likened into a shade of Babylon that is lifted up. And upon all the high mountain, upon all the hills that are lifted up. So the day of the Lord, this economic collapse will happen far and wide, worldwide, upon all the high mountains, the scripture tells you, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall. And the people who are very, the country which are prepared, they are putting a fence so that when the economic collapse hit, they will be exempted. That aren't going to happen, because the scripture tell you upon every fenced wall. See? And upon all the sheep of Tarshish, and upon all the present pictures. So when you talk about sheep, you are talking about trade, you are talking about traffic. Sheep will bring in food and exporting food. So the day of the Lord will be even upon those sea routes which will be bringing food. There won't be any food, there won't be any sheep coming bringing food. So that's how bad it will be. So with this, I hope you brothers are edified. On to the next. Shalom.